Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, the president of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. And today on the show, I am going to be interviewing Alma Alfaro from the Spanish department at Walla Walla University. And she's going to be sharing with us some important things about why learning a second language can be so valuable. So I hope that you will stay tuned for that. And also, I've got some very important things to share with you during the station news segment. Let's begin now, though, with our devotional thought. As you probably know, our family has been reading through the Bible at breakfast time. And as I've mentioned before, we don't go too quickly because we're just reading small segments at a time, and sometimes we don't even have everybody at the breakfast table at the same time. But we are making our way through it, and we are now finally in the book of Psalms. And the other day, we were reading from Psalm chapter 4. The last verse of this psalm is one of my favorite verses. I will both lie down in peace and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. This is a beautiful verse, and it reminds me that I can truly rest in God's care. He's caring for me and my family. He's the one who provides security and safety. No matter what my circumstances, I can claim the promise of this psalm. I will both lie down in peace and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. If you ever have trouble sleeping because you're stressing and worrying about some challenge in your life, try reading this last verse of Psalm 4 before bed. The psalm reminds us of some of the words of Jesus, both about peace and about worrying. Remember how Jesus told his disciples that he would give them peace? Just before his death on the cross, Jesus spent some quality time with his followers and his closest friends. And one of the important things he said to them was this: "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid." That's John 14:27. And it's so beautiful, and it's a promise too. Jesus gives us his peace. And it's a special kind of heavenly peace, not something that the world can conjure up. It comes from God. So we don't need to be troubled or afraid. We can lie down in peace and sleep, knowing God is in control. Jesus also spoke very directly with us about the needlessness of worrying. Remember the Sermon on the Mount? In this very important sermon, he describes what his kingdom is like. And God's kingdom is very different from the way that the world works. When you get a moment, I suggest reading the whole sermon found in Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. It's a great reminder of the foundational principles of God's kingdom. And it shows us very practically how we should be living as followers of Christ. And right in the midst of that sermon, Jesus spends some time talking about the uselessness of worrying. 3 times in this passage, he directly instructs us, do not worry. And he gives lots of reasons why we don't need to worry. So let's read it together now. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of those. And if that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So truly, we can lie down in peace and sleep. We can rest in Jesus' care. We're safe with him. So let's not worry about all the things that can stress us. Let's just rest in God's perfect, loving protection. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Alma Alfaro from Walla Walla University, where she is a professor of Spanish. And Alma, it's so good to have you joining us on the program today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So tell us about why you enjoy teaching Spanish to university students.
One of the reasons that I enjoy teaching Spanish is just to see how I teach all levels of Spanish, so beginning, intermediate, and advanced courses. And just to see from the beginning classes, like when students, some of them have never learned a foreign language and they might be struggling, but then to see them like they eventually, they're improving, and then you can see like a glare like in their eyes, and it's
Yes.
just like that they're like, oh, I got it. But but it takes time. But I like that. I think it's very fulfilling, that
You
feeling.
like to see the light bulb coming on
Yes.
and seeing them really enjoying learning something new.
Yes, definitely.
So why is learning a second language so important? We hear about it a lot. We include it in our curriculum both at high school level and at the collegiate level. Why is that important?
Well, there are benefits from learning a language. One of them could be like you will be able to interact more with other people, especially in the United States, where Spanish is the second most spoken language. But not just that, but I think it also has like benefits for your brain. There have been studies saying that if you learn another language, like you keep your brain busy, like you will not develop Alzheimer's, like because you're like you do math, like so these other things like put your brain to work. So
Yes, getting out of your normal routine and really stretching your brain to learn something new.
yes, and I think like learning another language is also useful, especially for the church.
Yes.
Because one of the messages from God is like we're supposed to go out and preach about his coming, and then like if we're able to communicate in their languages, like people will be more open to what we have to say. Like if we are able to understand them, meet them in their language, in their culture.
Yes, absolutely. And that, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I know that it's important to a lot of our viewers, and just having the ability to communicate with people outside of your, I'm going to say, sort of little circle, even though there's a lot of people in the world that speak English, of course, but there's so many more people who don't. And being able to learn another language and being able to share the important things, like the things about God's kingdom, with them.
Yes, because languages help us to see the world from a different perspective.
Yes.
Like Spanish, that's my primary language, and how we see the world is so different than when you see it in the English-speaking world. Like time and just that. How when we talk about language, and they're talking about volume and horizontal shapes, I don't know, but it's really interesting to see that. And then if you learn a language, and then when you go out somewhere else, like you can bring that perspective, and then you can be able to identify more with the people, I think.
Yeah,
if you're able to
sure.
understand. You don't have to be fluent, but to have like a good knowledge of it.
So you mentioned that you might see the world differently when you're speaking Spanish. That implies that language itself shapes our thoughts in
Yes.
some way. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think so. because I just came out of class. I was teaching elementary Spanish, and then I was teaching them about the possessive adjectives. Like in English, say my book or my books, but in Spanish it's mi libro, mis libros. So in Spanish, your possessive adjective has to agree in number. It has to be singular or plural according to the item, but in English you say my book, my books. The only thing that changes is the noun. So that's a different way of viewing life, I think.
It is a different way of viewing life. So Spanish is a beautiful language. I think everyone kind of agrees that it has a beauty to the way it sounds, as do all the Romance languages, really. That's just more beautiful than the Germanic languages. But what do you find so beautiful about Spanish?
Well, primarily, it is the first language that is my mother tongue, and so I find it like really interesting in that case. And I think like it just the way you say things, it might be slightly different. It just sounds better. Like I'm teaching a class now, multicultural literature. And then there's some terms that I say, like, I'm going to say this in Spanish because it makes more sense than if I said it in English. We're talking about Miguel de Cervantes, the writer of Don Quixote. And then he was, because he was in a war, he lost his arm. So in Spanish, he was called El Manco de Lepanto. But in English, it's I'm missing
I'm sorry.
The one-handed man.
The one-handed man.
Like
yes.
that doesn't sound right.
It's not as good.
Yeah. So
No.
El Manco de Lepanto make more sense. The one-handed man. Yeah. So.
Yes. So some things are just more beautiful.
Yes.
In the native language where maybe a story came from, or describing something from that culture, can often be better in their own language, and we know Spanish is a beautiful language.
Yes, even though like we have a lot of works in translation, and one of the writers, Marjorie Augustine, says that translators they help because she writes in Spanish even though she lives in the U.S.
Yes.
But she has kept writing in Spanish since she was a kid because she came to the U.S. from Chile when she was a kid, but then like she had all these memories of her family, and then she said, I need to write so I will write it in Spanish. So the Spanish language keeps her connected to her culture, to her roots from Chile, and she's of Jewish descent, so she knows about migration and all the stuff. So,
yes.
So she lives in the U.S., but all her work is written in Spanish, and then she has translators. And she said that translator helped her like to bring her work into other people, into their lives of other people.
She feels that she can tell those stories about that culture best in the native language.
Yes.
Yes. Really
even though I mean,
good.
like she speaks English and everything,
Sure.
but she just wants to.
But those stories should be told in that language.
Yes.
Yeah, understood. So is it difficult to learn a second language or another? I know some people are learning their third and fourth languages, but is it difficult, especially for some of us who we have one language, especially if you're older? Is it difficult?
Well, it is. I think it's challenging at times. Like, I speak Spanish, that's my mother tongue, but I also speak English. But you can hear like you're never gonna be like a native speaker. Like if I came here when I was 11, but like there's a cadence, there's like a sound, like I don't know, there's a pattern of sounds that like if you didn't learn them when you were a kid, but you can still learn the language, but they're like little nuances that
are challenging.
Yes.
They are. And I think that's true. It seems difficult to get those nuances of pronunciation, and some of the sounds that are made in other languages we don't even make in our language, and so that can be really challenging for us as we're older.
Yes, yeah, but I think like learning a language, it's especially Spanish, because it's a phonetic language, it's more accessible to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is one of the easier languages to learn.
Yeah, unlike in English, like the way it's written, that's how we read it.
Yes, not so in English. You never know.
Yes.
Even I've often said I'm so glad I learned English first because I don't know if I could have ever learned it. It's a pretty challenging language in many ways. So many rules broken.
Yeah, because your vowels have different sounds depending on where they are.
Yes. So, but Spanish in that way makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Good language to learn. So you would say that even if a person is older and they might think, I'd like to learn Spanish, they should still go for it. They should try it.
I think so. I think like you should be able to challenge your brain, like I said earlier, that is helpful. And then like it will give you like a different perspective in the world.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, because that is one of the values of another language. It's not just the words themselves. It's about understanding people, about understanding their culture.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, whenever I travel, what I like to do is like I like to go to the grocery store just to see how the things, because in the U.S. like you go and then you buy like, for example, if you have a headache, you go to the pharmacy and you get like Advil, like a big container of 50 pills, so
Yes.
tablets. But in Spanish-speaking countries, you can go to a pharmacy and then you can just order 5 of them, because you don't need the whole container.
Yes.
So like, and that is that's how life is. Like it's just different. And I think like if you learn about that culture, then you're gonna be able to see that life is seen from a different perspective, like, you know. And then also one of the things is like in the Spanish-speaking culture, like we're communal.
Yes.
And that is very different in a way from the U.S. culture, like individualistic.
Yes, it is quite different. And now we see here in our own valley, we have a lot of Hispanic people. We have a lot of people speaking Spanish, and not just speaking Spanish, but living in that style of culture, where they're gathering more as family groups and friend groups, and really they enjoy that community and spending that time together, sort of in larger extended family groups than maybe some of us who are of German heritage or something, more than we do, where we kind of view the world in a little more individualistic way.
Yes. And I think like Spanish is it's everywhere. Like if you go to the grocery store, you'll see like aisles like of Hispanic food and Asian food. So
Yes, so it's true.
So they're catering to the needs of the community.
Absolutely. So if you are, well, we have just a couple minutes left, but I want to cover a couple of other things. If you major in Spanish at Walla Walla University, it's more than just taking classes here, isn't it? Or it could be more. Do students have opportunity to be immersed in these cultures we've been talking about?
Yes, Walla Walla University, we have sister schools in Spain. Well, we have sister schools in various countries.
Yes.
For like about 8 different languages that we offer, but I'm going to speak for Spanish. So we have a program in Spain and in Argentina.
Yes. So students can actually go there for a semester?
Yeah, they can go for a summer or semester, a quarter, yes. And then if they spend a year abroad, provided that they take 28 credit hours, they can get a minor in Spanish.
Oh, that's really neat. What a great opportunity. And it's affordable?
Yes, and then if your parents work for the church, you get the same stipend.
Ah, nice. Same subsidy that you would get coming here.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so this is something that I know a lot of students do. They really immerse themselves in the language, they immerse themselves in the culture by actually going to one of these other places.
Yes, ACA is a venue, Adventist Colleges Abroad, and just like also students going on missionary trips too. Like, you know, they have other languages that they can learn. And I think like students appreciate that, being able to communicate with the local people.
So do you have to be a full-time student at Walla Walla University to take a Spanish class?
No, you don't. All you have to go is like go to the records office, and you can be like in high school or anywhere, and then just talk to them, and then they can enroll you through classes.
All right, so if someone like me wanted to take a Spanish class, it could happen.
Yes, it could happen.
Okay, very good. Alma, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us about the value of another language. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. It's time now for Station News. We are so grateful at Blue Mountain Television because Walla Walla University's Service Day was just a huge benefit to us. A number of students came over to help us on the project at the new facility. Remember, I was talking about them coming to tear down some of the walls and partitions that needed to be removed in order to turn what used to be the sanctuary into a studio. Well, they came and they did a great job helping us. And again, our huge thanks to the students from Walla Walla University. And then this past Sunday, a group of our board members came, volunteered some time, and also some of our constituents. And they went around throughout the area where the walls had been taken down, collecting the nails that had been in the walls and the screws from these boards that were taken down. So we're going to reuse what we had there, recycle it, and put it to great use. So thank you to you constituents and board members who came and helped us collect those things so that we can use them again. Now we've got an update about 2 of our broadcast channels, and I need to tell you about each of these. First of all, let's talk about Channel 28. I have an update about that. As you know, especially if you've been watching Channel 28, we've had issues with our transmitter there, and we have had to purchase a new transmitter. So we want you to know that our board members and engineering volunteers, Jim Forsyth and Keith Carlin, are working right now as we're recording this program on getting that new transmitter, which has arrived, ready to be installed. It's not simple, it's complicated. They're poring over the instruction manuals and doing their diligent work to have everything going just right with it as they install it. But by the time you're watching this program, which will begin airing on Thursday, it will probably be up and running. And so again, big thank you to the company that got this new transmitter to us so quickly. Thank you to God for the excellent price we had in purchasing it. And thank you to Jim and Keith for getting it installed. Now, just because we got it for a really good price doesn't mean that it didn't cost Blue Mountain something extra that we were not planning on. So we're needing about $10,000 for this transmitter. So right now, if you're thinking I could do something to help with that new transmitter for Channel 28 that we were not expecting to have to replace at this point, we would so much appreciate it. We need some special gifts right now to help us with that transmitter. So thank you for just going to your checkbook or going online and making a donation and helping us to pay for this extra added expense right now. Then also about Channel 36. As part of our move to the new facility on Wallula Road, one of the things that we have to do is to actually move our antenna for Channel 36 back to the Village Church location where it used to be a number of years ago. This will allow us to then get the signal where it needs to go when we're at our new facility. So the tentative plan for moving that is this coming Sunday, October 31. And the only reason it's tentative is just because it depends on the weather. It actually is really kind of is a plan, unless for some reason the weather does not cooperate. We remember that can happen. Like last Sunday, we had a huge storm, so it can happen. But weather permitting, we're going to be making that move for Channel 36 then. And again, thank you to our engineering types, especially Jim Forsyth, for the work that he is putting into that project. And you need to know that Channel 36 could be off the air for a couple of days while this is taking place. So just be aware, you'll need to access Blue Mountain Television on one of the other channels or look it up online at our website and access it via the streaming at that point. So, or on Roku. So you'll just need to find us another way if you're not able to get the signal there on 36 for a couple of days, but it shouldn't take too long. And finally, I want to make sure that you are remembering, and I bet you are because I keep telling you to write it on your calendar, but remembering the fall fundraiser. That's going to be coming up November 7 through 9, which is now getting pretty close. And this will be from 6 to 10 p.m. each of those evenings. And here's our theme, Called to Freedom. It's a beautiful theme, and a theme we really want to explore with our special guest, James Rafferty. This freedom that we have in Jesus, the freedom that we have as Christians, and that God provides for us, and that His whole kingdom is really based on. So we're called to freedom, and our special guest is going to be James Rafferty. And Reese Rafferty is going to be here as well, sharing some health nuggets with us. And you know how valuable those always are, and she's really good at presenting them and lots of fun to listen to. So a couple of great things to look forward to with our fall fundraiser. And if that isn't enough, we also have videos from the Advent Heralds. So we're going to have great music and beautiful music videos as well. So just so much to anticipate and look forward to during the fall fundraiser. Again, mark it on your calendar, November 7 through 10, 6 to 10 p.m. And this fundraiser is going to be very important for keeping our operations going at Blue Mountain Television. We've really had a dip in our general operation fund, even though people have been giving generously to the new facility, which is also very important. So we need to hear from you in a very special way during our fall fundraiser. So looking forward to those special evenings with you. And I want to thank you for watching this show, for all that you do to support this ministry. You are essential and a key part of what happens with Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. So thank you to you, and thank you for watching today. I'll see you next time.